homecoming in Murfreesboro this weekend as the Blue Raiders host the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. The Blue Raiders are heading into the showdown against ULM with all the momentum after a 21-point thrashing of Georgia Tech last week in Atlanta. Senior running back Benny Cunningham won Sun Belt Player of the Week honors after a 217-yard rushing performance and 5 touchdowns. The Blue Raiders' 264 rushing yards were their most since 2007. The Warhawks are flying high this season, putting up nearly 45 points a game and posting a win against the SEC's Arkansas Razorbacks. The Blue Raiders rank 16th nationally in passing efficiency and have scored at least 40 points in their last 2 games. MT's 510 yards of total offense was the 6th highest under Coach Stockstill's tenure.
The MTSU men's tennis team is back from the ITA All-American Championship Tournament after falling short in the qualifying rounds. Junior Ben Davis entered the season ranked 92nd in the nation and fell in 2 straight sets to Texas A&M's Shane Vincent in the final qualifying round. In doubles action, Davis and partner Christoph Long received a bye in the first qualifying round, but fell in the 3rd round of matches to Jordan Angus and Malte Strop of Mississippi State. Next up for the men's tennis team is the ITA Ohio Valley Championship in Memphis. That tournament will be held between October 18th and 22nd.
Detroit Tigers third baseman Miguel Cabrera became a legend last night as he became the first player in 45 years to win the elusive Triple Crown. Cabrera finished the season with 44 home runs, 139 runs batted in, and a .330 batting average. Cabrera's amazing season was capped off Wednesday night by an unselfish decision to play in the Tigers' final regular season game, where he could have potentially hurt his batting average. Cabrera also won his team's Roberto Clemente Award, an award given to the player who demonstrates sportsmanship and community involvement. With the Triple Crown now under his belt, Cabrera joins a list of legends that include Ty Cobb, Mickey Mantle, Frank Robinson, Lou Gehrig, and the last player to win the award, Ty Yastrzemski.
The Southeastern Conference picture will become a little clearer this weekend with 2 top 10 matchups on the schedule. First in Gainesville, the 4th-ranked LSU Tigers take on the number 10 Florida Gators. LSU quarterback Zach Mettenberger is making only his 2nd road start against the Gators, while Florida's quarterback Jeff Driscoll will be facing the dangerous Tiger defensive line. Meanwhile, number 5 Georgia heads to number 6 South Carolina. The Bulldogs are averaging 48 points a game, but they lost their leading wide receiver last weekend to a torn ACL.
Some not-so-good news for you pro hockey fans. The first 2 weeks of the NHL season were canceled today. A total of 82 games were canceled due to the absence of a collective bargaining agreement between the NHL Players Association and the NHL. No further negotiations have been scheduled since talks between the union and the league broke off Tuesday. The owners are demanding players' revenue percentage to drop from 57% to 47%. This is the 3rd time the NHL has lost games since 1994.
The National Basketball Association is fighting back against players they say are falling on purpose to draw fouls. A new rule this week from the NBA sets up a punishment system for what they call floppers. While penalties may not be called, the league office will first warn players that flop. Additional offenses will earn players a $5,000 fine, followed by $10,000, $15,000, and as high as $30,000 before possible suspensions. The Players Union has filed a grievance, but the league doesn't expect that to have an effect on the rule this upcoming season.
The Titans are looking to rebound from last week's 24-point defeat at the hands of the division rival Houston Texans. They head to the land of 1,000 lakes for a face-off with the Minnesota Vikings. The Titans will be without starting quarterback Jake Locker, who suffered a dislocated shoulder for the 2nd time this season. According to the Titans, Locker could be sidelined for multiple weeks with the injury. However, the Titans found a bright spot in last week's loss as running back Chris Johnson posted his first 100-yard game of the 2012 season with 141 yards on 25 carries. The Titans are currently sitting last place in the AFC South at 1-3.
I know it's early in the college football season, but they should just go ahead and give West Virginia quarterback Geno Smith the Heisman. Through only 4 games this season, Geno Smith has thrown for 20 touchdowns and 0 picks. Last week against Baylor, Smith threw for 8 touchdowns and over 650 yards. The man had 3 more touchdowns than he had incomplete passes, and that's insane. No one is going to catch him, and with their schedule the Mountaineers have remaining, he seems to be an easy lock for Heisman. We are already approaching Week 5 in the NFL, and only 3 teams remain undefeated: the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Houston Texans. The Texans are arguably the best team in the NFL right now, but they have some tough games coming up, and I think they'll be handed their first loss before the Falcons or Cardinals lose. The Falcons and Cardinals have easy roads until the first week of November, and hopefully both will be undefeated when they play each other November 18th. One former MTSU football player has traded his cleats and pads for boots and a lasso. Running back Aram Trey Lewis came to MTSU in 2010 on a football scholarship after a successful high school career in Birmingham, Alabama. Shortly after being redshirted his freshman year, Lewis blew out his knee on a play that tore his MCL and ACL. Lewis came to MTSU as an agricultural major and has recently gotten into doing rodeo. He competes in various team roping competitions, and his goal is to win a medal in a U.S. event.
The 2012 Sun Belt Player of the Year is getting set to start his new career in Greece. Former Blue Raider Laurent Dendy recently signed a one-year contract with Europe's A1 League and is ready to compete. Dendy contacted GoBlueRaiders.com and mentioned that his experience at Middle Tennessee State has definitely played a major role in his preparation for the next level. Although Dendy says he misses his family and friends, he stated that they support him to the fullest and understand his grind.
A former Blue Raider is getting a chance to make all his dreams come true. Rick Cochran, a former MTSU golfer, has been selected to compete on the Golf Channel's Big Break. Big Break is a widely popular show that eliminates one player per week until there's only one golfer left. The last golfer standing at the end of the season will receive an opportunity to play a PGA Tour event next summer. Cochran, who is the nephew of Champions Tour legend Russ Cochran, was a star for the Blue Raiders' 2008 NCAA tournament run. The show airs on Tuesday night this fall at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in and let's watch our fellow Blue Raider make us proud and win this competition.
The Big Apple just landed a new resident. 15-year veteran Rasheed Wallace has decided to come out of retirement and has reached an agreement with the New York Knicks. Now, the only question to be answered is just how much contribution can we expect from the 38-year veteran? Coach Mike Woodson stated that Wallace is simply an insurance policy. Wallace joins off-season recruits Jason Kidd, Marcus Camby, and Kurt Thomas, making the Knicks the oldest team in the NBA. They say age is nothing but a number, only time will tell.
The Atlanta Braves have a do-or-die chance to avenge last year's monumental collapse. The Atlanta Braves are entering the playoffs coming off a red-hot month of September, winning 19 of 27 games. Their pitching staff lacks playoff experience, but does feature solid front-to-back-end talent. Chris Medlin will start their wild card playoff game Friday at home against St. Louis. Medlin is 10-1 with a 1.57 ERA this season, leading the Braves to victory in his last 23 starts, dating back to last season, which is a major league record. Atlanta's offense, led by future Hall of Famer Chipper Jones, must deliver if they plan on making a legitimate World Series push. Their offense also lacks experience, but makes up for it with a great blend of contact, power, and speed on the base pass, something they have lacked in the past. First pitch is at Turner Field in Atlanta at 5 Eastern Time.
A former 7-time NBA All-Star is looking for a new team, but his search might land him across the pond. Sources say Tracy McGrady is considering playing in China. Although McGrady says his preference is to be signed to an NBA club, he said he will just have to sit back and wait before committing to playing overseas. McGrady has recently worked out for the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs. One thing is for certain, the veteran does not plan on retiring.
I think it's that special time of year again when Tim Tebow saves another NFL team's season. The New York Jets are 2-2, but their 2 losses have been by a combined score of 61-10. In his 4th season as Jets signal caller, Mark Sanchez continues to regress, completing less than half of his passes and throwing for less than 200 yards per game. Sanchez is continuously pampered by the Jets organization, which has surrounded him with skilled players like Santonio Holmes, Plaxico Burress, and a stellar defense that has picked up his consistent slack. He will now be throwing to the likes of Jeremy Curley and Stephen Hill. Sounds similar to Tebow's lackluster receiving core last season. With the loss of their leader and best defensive player Darrelle Revis, the Jets are going to have to fight an uphill battle for the rest of the season. You don't have to look far to find a quarterback on their roster that is a great leader, extremely hard worker, and a proven winner. If the Jets are going to have any chance to make the playoffs, they need to start Tim Tebow Monday night against the Houston Texans.
They say what goes up must come down, and our Middle Tennessee State University Quidditch team has found a way to get this magical game of the sky played on the ground. In 2011, the team became members of the International Quidditch Association. By April, they were approved as an official campus organization, and since, they have adopted the name the Blue Thresholds for their team. As in the J.K. Rowling series, the game consists of 2 teams of 7 whose ultimate goal is to capture the golden snitch for the win. The teams practice every Sunday at 1 and will host their first game against Belmont later this month.
One of the MLB's top pitchers reveals he has been pitching the season with an injury. New York Mets pitcher R.A. Dickey said that he has been pitching the season with a torn abdominal muscle. The injury came on an April 13th game against the Philadelphia Phillies, and he has dealt with a dull pain in his stomach since. Dickey will undergo surgery on October 18th to repair the tear. Dickey led the Mets this season with 20 wins and an earned run average of 2.73.
Looks like the #1 ranked player in the NBA, LeBron James, said no to playing in the Heat's preseason opener. James opted not to play this past Sunday, or if any at all, throughout the preseason games. His strategy behind not playing is for LeBron not to overwork himself before the start of the regular season of the NBA, where the Heat will play the Boston Celtics. After all, he did just win a playoff and an Olympic gold medal, so this time off is rightfully owed.
The Middle Tennessee State University Blue Raiders will be looking to continue their winning ways when they return home. The MTSU Blue Raiders women's soccer team played the Troy Trojans on Friday in Murfreesboro. This is the Blue Raiders' first home game since September 23rd when they defeated Arkansas State. The Raiders will be looking for continued success from seniors Paige Goglin and Whitney Jorgensen.
It's time once again to see why the MTSU Blue Raiders are in the spotlight instead of the doghouse. Matt Hagan has the inside scoop on the homecoming game.
I'm Matt Hagan, standing here at Johnny Red Floyd Stadium, home of the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders, as the Blue Raiders get ready to take on their toughest opponent yet, the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Now, ULM is 2-2 this year with a win over Arkansas, and last week they ended their 2-game losing streak to Tulane with a 63-10 win. But the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders are on a 3-game win streak, and they have played Memphis, Florida Atlantic, and with their surprising win last week over Georgia Tech, 49-28, mainly off of their rushing game. Now, according to the stat right here that I got during the press conference, Middle Tennessee is 9-3 against ULM in their home stands so far. They have not lost. The last loss they had to ULM was last year, which ended a 5-game winning streak for the Blue Raiders. The Blue Raiders right now are looking to figure out what they need to do to continue this 3-game win streak.
MTSU played Georgia Tech this weekend. They had 510 yards of total offense, half from the passing game and half from the rushing game. ULM has played Auburn hard and Baylor hard.
Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders just finished their press conference for the ULM game this Saturday. Now, the biggest question was, what do the Middle Tennessee State expect after their big win on Saturday against Georgia Tech and the ACC facing a Sun Belt school?
They could easily be 3-1 right now instead of their 2-2 record. Let's see how the Blue Raiders can play this week, knowing just what kind of team they are playing. And this is homecoming week, so let's all go Blue Raiders.
It's a big game, and we recognize how big this game is. So it goes back to what I said earlier, that this is a critical game.
I came up after the McNeese game, and kind of said it didn't decide anything. Yeah, obviously you want to win every single week.
A win's a win. Just got to come back to work.
After all of those big interviews and all of the confidence MTSU has after blowing out Georgia Tech, let's see if we can do to ULM what they did to Arkansas.
A former Blue Raider is getting a chance to make all his dreams come true. Rick Cochran, a former MTSU golfer, has been selected to compete on the Golf Channel's Big Break. Big Break is a widely popular show that eliminates one player per week until there's only one golfer left. The last golfer standing at the end of the season will receive an opportunity to play a PGA Tour event next summer. Cochran, who's the nephew of champion tour legend Russ Cochran, was a star for the Blue Raiders' 2008 NCAA tournament run. The show airs on Tuesday nights this fall at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in and let's watch our fellow Blue Raider make us proud and win this competition.